would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional, unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Welcome to the Sharing Circle podcast. My name is Arne Kaplan, and today we are welcoming Vanessa Dreckmann, Manager of Indigenous Engagement for Eastern Canada here at BGIS. Hey, Vanessa.
Bonjour, Arno. Bonjour, Arno. How are you?
Bonjour, Vanessa. I'm good, and you? It's good to have you here.
Good. Thanks for having me.
It's the second time we have you here on the podcast. We had the pleasure of having a conversation back in 2 years ago, and I'm sure things have happened since then. So just wanted to see what was the evolution of what really happened during these 2 years. So. I'll start by asking you, can you tell us about your journey? What led you to become an Indigenous Engagement Manager?
Absolutely. Well, my work journey with BGIS began in September 2020 on the Bank of Montreal account. That same year, BGIS had launched their National Indigenous Engagement Committee, and I felt an immediate pull to get involved. Through my involvement with this committee, I had been able to help drive important conversations and initiatives within BGIS. And in 2022, with my passion for always encouraging meaningful relationships and empowering our Indigenous communities and Indigenous businesses, I accepted the role of Manager of Indigenous Engagement for Eastern Canada on the RP1 account. So in this role, I provide full-time support and guidance and continuing championing meaningful initiatives in economic reconciliation. It's a role that's allowed me to be a dedicated advocate for real change while working with so many inspiring individuals along the way. My journey has been really been rooted in relationship building, advocacy, and creating space for Indigenous voices within corporate and community settings. As an Indigenous Engagement Manager, I've had the opportunity to help bridge connections between organizations, Indigenous communities, artists, businesses, and leaders. A large part of my work is ensuring that Indigenous perspectives are not only acknowledged, but meaningfully included in conversations and partnerships and decision-making processes. I'll add also personally, my journey has also been about learning and listening and carrying forward the importance of representation. And I'm Anishinaabe, so it's very important to me. And I've always believed that creating genuine relationships and opportunities can lead to long-term impact. And that continues to guide the work that I do every day.
Inspiring. And I heard you got transitioned in, like you accepted the role first by being involved in the committee at BMO.
Yeah. Well, so it's the national committee. So yeah, so I was in the role with the Bank of Montreal. I was like working on that account, and then I had just started at the beginning of September, and then a few weeks later we had our first Truth and Reconciliation presentation that Wade Griffin and Julie Matthews had put together, and so it was a few weeks after I'd started, and I was it really touched me to see that this new company that I was working for was doing this, because I know, like, all along my family, like my, I've had aunts and uncles that were a part of the residential school system. And so to see that this new organization that I was working with was doing something, like, presenting and kind of, giving people facts and kind of letting, people know what was happening. It really, it personally, of course, it touched me. And that's when I said, I reached out right away to Julie Matthews, and I said, I told her I'm Indigenous, and I said, how can I help? What can I do to be a part of this and help change the conversation? So yeah.
Interesting. How long have you been in this role, and have you seen meaningful progress since you started?
Yeah. So, well, since stepping into the role 4 years ago, I've definitely seen meaningful progress. One of the biggest shifts has been the growing willingness within the organization to have conversations around reconciliation and Indigenous inclusion and accountability. We're definitely seeing more intentional engagement with Indigenous businesses and communities, and there's a stronger understanding that this work isn't temporary. It's an ongoing relationship building. Progress takes time, but even seeing employees become more engaged and curious and open to learning has been really encouraging.
Yeah. What are some of the most noticeable changes you've seen at BGIS in regards to Indigenous engagement?
Well, one of the most noticeable changes has been the increased awareness and participation across teams. Employees are asking more questions, they're attending cultural and educational initiatives, and they're looking for ways to be involved respectfully and meaningfully. BGIS is hosting their second annual Walk for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Girls, and Two-Spirit People tomorrow, and it's really wonderful to see the participation numbers up from last year. People are really wanting to be involved. I've also seen a stronger focus on Indigenous procurement and partnerships and creating opportunities for Indigenous vendors and artists. Um, for instance, like 300 Sparks, where the whole team worked with a knowledge keeper and elder, and and how we had the land acknowledgement created and the renaming of all the boardrooms and the big mural in the boardroom, and then there's a couple other new pieces that are going to be happening throughout the building. So really getting involved, right? We're measuring success looking at two sides, looking at the corporate metrics, Indigenous spend, Indigenous employee hiring and retention. When an Indigenous vendor is successfully growing and can contest to working with us, it's a two-way relationship that benefits both parties. Beyond that, there's been a shift towards recognizing that Indigenous engagement is not just one department's responsibility or one client's responsibility. It's something that can be embedded across the organization and reflected in how we work every day. We've also successfully had the summer intern program for the Indigenous students. Last year, we hired 10, and it was amazing. They did wonderful work, and they are right across from coast to coast to coast. And this year we've hired 10 more, and they start on May the 11th. It'll be for the summer till the end of August, and looking again to see the perspective of their eyes and learning more from them as they learn from us as well. So it's a really great opportunity that BGIS is providing for these students. So yeah.
That's an increase, right, in the number of interns, I think a
No, it's
couple
the
years
same. So
before.
it's 10 right now as well. And
Okay,
we're looking for 10 again next year. And then we're
okay,
going to increase the number. So we just want to make sure we maintain the 10 for now, and
okay.
but yeah, we're going to further it after.
Didn't we have like one or two in previous years? I remember maybe 3 summers ago, or
So yeah, we did have a couple.
okay.
And but it was I guess and it was successful because one of the students that we did have, actually he worked in the Indigenous engagement team. His name was
Mm-hmm.
Trey.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, and we were able to keep him on.
Oh,
And once he was finished school, and yeah, so that was very successful as well. But we made it a point to grow it, right? So
yeah.
we
So
want to be able to grow the program and seeing the success that it's had, and yeah, and just hopefully we've seen a lot of interest as well.
that's
So
a good thing, I believe.
yeah,
And
like
it's
where
not
we
only,
have
yeah.
we have a couple of the students that are actually coming back from last year, but otherwise the others are new. But again, we post kind of through word of mouth or through LinkedIn and that,
Yeah.
and in no time we had the spots fill up with hugely talented students, like, so, it's not a struggle to find people because there's just so much Indigenous talent out there. So, yeah.
So it means that the company has a good reputation then.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I figure I find it's a good thing to see the increase in interest from our employees as well. Increasing participation in such events,
Yes.
as you mentioned, the red dress day,
Yes.
the red dress walk. It's good.
Yeah, and
thing.
even, the Odawa Friendship Center that hosts their powwow in Ottawa each year, we've had such a great group of individuals on their own time volunteering and taking part in that as well. So yeah, and that's at the end of May. So each year.
I'll be there.
Perfect.
What are some practical actions our employees can take to contribute to reconciliation?
Well, I think one of the most important actions is to simply being open to learning and listening. Reconciliation starts with understanding the history of Indigenous peoples in Canada and recognizing that its impacts are still present today. Employees can participate in educational opportunities, attend Indigenous-led events, support Indigenous businesses and artists, and take the time to build authentic relationships with Indigenous communities. Even small actions like being mindful of language, again, kind of going back to where we renamed the boardrooms, that's a huge impact. And making sure, like, asking respectful questions, or just to help amplify the Indigenous voices. We also on the Atlantic team had a book club, and and it was amazing to be able to read this book with other people, and then we all met and we had the author attend virtually. Everything was virtually, but you're amplifying their voices, right? And it can just make a meaningful difference when it's done consistently and genuinely.
Yeah, it's a matter of being open-minded, I think.
Yes.
And also to not fear the unknown. Like when you go to the Friendship Center, you can go and you can ask questions respectfully, of course, without like preconceived ideas. But if you ask, they will answer, and they will be happy that you take an interest in them.
Yes, so you're trying, right? That's all everybody wants, is just to try.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is your vision for Indigenous engagement at BGIS over the next 5 to 10 years?
My vision for Indigenous engagement is to continue growing in a way that's authentic and sustainable and embedded into BGIS's culture. I would love to see an even stronger partnership with Indigenous communities and businesses, increased mentorship and employment opportunities for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, and continued investment in education and awareness across all levels of the company. I also hope that we continue creating spaces where Indigenous perspectives are valued, and not just during specific events and initiatives, but as part of everyday business practices and decision making. Last year, BGI successfully won the RP4 account until I believe it's 2040. And at the same time, I accepted the role of manager for Indigenous engagement and diversity for that account. So I'm really hoping that I'll be here on that journey with them for the next 5 to 10 years as well.
Great stuff. Great stuff. We also an increase maybe in the number of Indigenous communities throughout the whole Canada.
Absolutely.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's for sure it's a corporate initiative, but then it gets stronger if it's backed by the employees.
Yes,
and we
absolutely.
can see what it can do. Like a collective action of employees can be powerful.
Yes, exactly. And BGIS is also on their PAIR journey, which is through CCIB, which is the Canadian Council for Indigenous Business. And they have their again, you kind of go corporately where they need to have their certain points done. But again, it's also authentic as well, that they want to do this. And what I mean? And even when we started on the journey, it's we started where you go to you start as a committed level, then you go to bronze, silver, gold. BGIS went right into bronze. We didn't even need to do the committed because we were already committed, you know, and there's just so much that has happened. And, you know, and again, it's the engagement, you know, and it comes from leadership down. And well, you don't want to even say down, it just because we should all be equal anyways. But, you know, when we have leadership on board, that it makes, it makes everybody want to also work together. So,
So we have bronze, the bronze certification.
Yes.
Or we're aiming for like silver.
We're aiming
and
for
then gold?
silver. So next year is the next award season for it, because you need to for 3 years. So next year we're really pushing for silver.
Ooh, interesting. Nice.
Yes.
What message would you like our listeners to walk away with?
I would want listeners to understand that reconciliation is not a single action or a checklist. It's an ongoing commitment. It's built through relationships, respect, education, and willingness to listen and grow together. Every person has a role to play, and meaningful change often starts with small intentional actions. When organizations and individuals approach Indigenous engagement with authenticity and openness, it creates opportunities for stronger communities, deeper understanding, and lasting impact.
Thanks a lot, Vanessa.
Chimagwech to you, Arnaud, for having me on today and allowing me to share a little bit about myself and my journey with BGIS.
It was a pleasure. Have a great day, Vanessa.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.